If you haven't started your first game and you might be a little bit scared, we're going to talk about how to overcome that coming up. What's up guys, Tim Russell here from Game Dev Underground, helping you build, finish, and launch better games. Today we're going to be talking about something that's really cool because I think it holds a lot of people back. And this is being scared of starting. Now, I posted a video a while back called "Are you ready? When do you know whether you're ready to start?" And I'll link that above. And that was basically the premise of start now. But there were a few comments and messages that I got about that, and a lot of people are still scared. Like I think they understood the point of the video, but they didn't quite. They just assumed that it was different than, their situation, and they were scared to start. So I figured I'd make a video, kind of go through it and go through some of the top 3 reasons on why people are scared to start and how to overcome them. So number 1, and this is the biggest one. I have my notes here. You don't know where to start. I remember when I first got back into game development, after taking a few years off doing my marketing company. Like, I had always loved building things and I kind of kept involved with technology, but I got so wrapped up in my marketing company that I just kind of forgot about everything else. And when I got back into game development, it was like, oh my god, where do I start? Like, this landscape is so different than anything that I'm used to. The engines had changed, the landscape had changed, the popular titles were different, new genres had emerged, all kinds of stuff had happened, and for me to come back into that, I had no idea where to start. But mostly, like, on the engines, which engine do I pick? How do I go about this? And how I actually got past that was, I thought about the concept of, like, how each engine would help me individually. And I realized, going through this thought process of, if I use Unity has this, then I can go do this and I can go do that. If I use Construct, then I can use this and I can use that. And I realized every engine is the best. Like, every engine does pretty much the same thing. They all have different features and stuff, but the important thing isn't the individual features. The important thing is starting and making games. And ultimately, I just decided to go with 2D games because I love 2D games more than 3D games these days. So I just picked Construct 2 and I just started. I actually started with Game Salad before that, and it wasn't working out. I had some issues with it. I couldn't publish off of their platform, so I just switched to Construct 2. I realized that I was making such a big deal about which one to choose that I didn't really have to. If I just picked one, and if it didn't work out, I could just switch. Like, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a lot of all these engines use the same technologies anyway. Like, if you're on Unity and you're using JavaScript, that JavaScript can carry over to any other type of game. You understand programming logic, you understand loops, you understand like all the basics of programming. Not only is the syntax very similar to some of these other programming languages, but JavaScript is pretty versatile in itself, right? Like, it doesn't. So especially if you're going to start on like Construct 2 or one of these other like drag and drop or like Game Maker or something, dude, the concepts that you learn there can be applied everywhere else. It just may be a different implementation, and so it's nothing to worry about. So if picking an engine is stopping you from starting, just pick one and go with it. And I know that's easier than it sounds. I know you're scared. I know it's crazy. Everything seems so overwhelming, but trust me, like, just pick one and it'll all work out. And if you have trouble, we have a very helpful Discord group you can join. Links in the description. And those guys are awesome. So number 2, a lot of people are afraid to start because they're afraid to fail. And I was this way too. Especially me running Game Dev Underground, it was an additional fear because not only was I scared of failing a game, but I was scared of failing a game with a bunch of other developers watching me. And if I'm teaching marketing and this stuff online and I fail, and all you guys are watching, like, shit, now I'm I failed, but I also failed in front of you guys. Like, that's twice as scary, right? But I realized that, like, failure, the things that we consider failures are not really failures, because they always teach us stuff. And I think a lot of failures come as a result of false expectations, right? So if your expectation for your first game is that you're going to sell 1 million copies and you put it up online and you don't sell any, yeah, you might feel like a failure because your expectation and the reality are so drastically different. The solution for me to this was to manage your expectations a little more properly, right? Like, that's what I ended up doing. And in this example specifically, like, dude, your first game is not going to be a hit. You're not going to make millions of dollars. Shit's not going to get out there. You should not plan on your first game being your Mona Lisa, you know? Like, Mona Lisa wasn't his first painting. Like, shit, dude, you got to do a lot of other stuff before you get to that point. And making games for fun, that's why I love the idea of game jams. That's why I love Krister's 1 game a month idea. I love concepts like that because they take the pressure off of making a game. When you're working solo and you want to be a game developer so bad and you want to push this out there, it's really easy to, like, fantasize about, oh, well, what if I get 1 million sales? I could be a millionaire, you know, off of making games, and then it'll be awesome. And then I could travel the world and do everything and make games from a laptop. Like, it's pretty easy to get lost in those fantasies. But if you manage your expectations and you just say, hey, this is my first game, you know, I'm going to release it and I'm going to make 5 people happy, 10 people happy. I'm going to get, you know, I'm going to see what people think. I'm going to learn something. If you set your expectations right and you got your goal properly set, you can have success on your hand, right? So your first game, if you expect to get 1 million sales and you don't get any, it's a failure. But if you expect 5 people to play it and you get 10 people to play it, you're twice as successful. And I know it sounds like a cop-out. I know it sounds like weird, but for me, managing my psychological expectations was really important because it affected my mood, it affected my motivation levels, it put me in this wave, and I just thought I should share that with you guys. So, number 3, you're scared to start because you don't have the time, money, or resources. This is a lie. You are lying to yourself if you say that you don't have the resources, because as a lovely person by the name of Tony Robbins would say, it's not about resources, it's about resourcefulness. And I would add to that if you say that you don't have the time, what you were really saying is that you're not prioritizing this as high enough on your list to come before other things that are taking your time. So I don't mean to be mean about this, but, like, you're not anybody special, right? Like, you have the same amount of time in your day as Bill Gates, as Elon Musk, as Richard Branson, as any of these other famous dudes. Same 24 hours. We all get 24 hours in a day. It's just that some people know how to prioritize the things that they do better than others. And if you say you don't have enough time, what you're really saying is that I put other things before this. Now, I know this gets complicated when you got family, when you got kids, when you got a full-time job, when you got all this stuff, but it's still possible. And I know that I don't have a family and kids and full-time job and all this other stuff, and so I'm kind of preaching to you, but I've seen guys that do it. I have friends that do it. Like, I know some of the most driven people on the planet, and these are guys that I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they fit all this in, but they do. And they tell me all the time it's about priority. And so that's what it is. And if you are scared to start because you don't think you have the time, you do. You got to find the time. If you don't think you have the money, you don't need money. You just have to start. You have to start making games. And if you're scared you don't have the resources, well, it's about resourcefulness. You can find the way. You can find the opportunity. It's up to you. You just got to make shit happen. That's it for today, guys. I hope you found it useful. If you have any comments on this, please leave them below. If you have other barriers that have held you back from starting, please leave them below, because I think a lot of people can learn from them. But once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you guys next time.